Hi there! Welcome to episode 18 of Retro Buyer's Guide. I'm Mike, and today we're going to be taking a look at some more Sega Saturn games. So as soon as I'm through with this playthrough of Galactic Attack, I'm going to edit this video. So here's some Sega Saturn games. The first game we're going to take a look at is Super Tempo. Now this is a sequel to the 32X game Tempo, and it is an import game only. It was only released in Japan. It's a very colorful platform game with a lot of interesting characters doing interesting things, like that panda bear. Not really sure what he's doing over there against that wall, but you can use your imagination. You walk around and attack things with bubbles and collect musical notes. That's pretty much the name of the game, and progress to the end of the stage. Aside from wall-humping panda bears, there are also a lot of other interesting characters, like this guy peeing, for instance. This first boss fight is pretty cool, too. After you get a power-up, you hulk up, and then it becomes a button-mashing contest between you and this guy to basically push each other out of the screen. Kind of a neat gameplay mechanic, and it breaks up the monotony of just jumping around and attacking things. Come on. You don't even understand how much I'm mashing this button right now. Come on. Oh my god. Oh, there we go. And away he goes. If anything, you can say Super Tempo is definitely a game filled with a lot of character. Haven't played this game too much. I've only gotten 2 or 3 stages in. What little I've played has been really fun and interesting. Like, for no apparent reason, I'm haunted by a dead donkey. And then he turns into like a little sperm thing when you wander away too far. I'm not sure if it's worth the $250 price tag, but I've had fun with it. Next up we have Sonic R, which is not a traditional Sonic game. The Saturn actually didn't get a traditional Sonic game. And instead, we got this weird racing game starring Sonic and his friends, and like most Sonic fan art, it's bad. Seriously. The main problem with this game are the controls. It's very, very clunky to maneuver around the tracks, which aren't really that well designed to begin with. And like all Sonic the Hedgehog games, once you get that sense of momentum, he's really hard to control. Visually, this game is also a mess. I mean, look at this. I'm flipping through everything. That's not necessarily a failure of this game in particular, as it is a failure of the Saturn itself. It wasn't until the release of the Sony PlayStation that Sega began to see the writing on the wall and realized that their system, which they designed mostly to be a 2D powerhouse, needed to be able to do 3D. So what did they do? They bolted on an extra processor, and, well, you see the result. The one good thing about Sonic R is the soundtrack. It's damn amazing. Without you, there's nothing for me to do. In all seriousness, I would avoid this one unless you're just a huge Sonic the Hedgehog fan. Next up we have Waku 7, which is the 7th entry in the popular fighting franchise by Sunsoft. I'm just kidding. This is actually a one-off that was originally developed for the Neo Geo MVS arcade machine, but was eventually ported to the Sega Saturn. It's called Waku 7 because there are 7 characters you can pick from initially. Although if you play versus mode, there are actually 9 characters that you can play as. Each of the characters in this game mimic a character very closely from a different series. For instance, this character, Marurun, is actually a parody of Totoro from My Neighbor Totoro, the Studio Ghibli film. As you can see, it's pretty typical of a fighter from this era. You have your special bar and your life meter, pretty good animation. All in all, I would say this is a pretty underrated and under-the-radar fighting game, and it's a lot of fun. I would definitely recommend picking this one up, especially since it won't cost you as much to import this game as it would other Saturn games. It only costs about 25 to 30 bucks. Three Dirty Dwarves is a side-scrolling beat-em-up game developed by Appaloosa Interactive and published by Sega Soft. You play as 3 dwarf brothers, and you have 3 unique weapons, a baseball bat, a bowling ball, and a shotgun, and you can switch through the dwarves at any time. If one of your brothers gets knocked out, you simply go over and you hit him with your weapon, and he will be revived. If at any point all 3 of your brothers get knocked out, it's an instant game over. The game itself is fairly repetitive, but it does offer a break from the constant brawling in the form of some small puzzles and a story represented by some cutscenes.
He does, huh? Get mad.
There are also some interesting boss fights, but the $50 to $70 price tag that this game is currently fetching on the collector's market, I don't know if it's necessarily worth that. I think it's a pretty fun game to add to your collection. I was lucky enough to pick it up for about 20 bucks just for the disc itself, but again, I think I would probably wait for this one to come down a little bit. The price tends to fluctuate pretty heavily. Next up, we have Shinrei Juice Taromaru, and this is a pretty awesome game, but it goes for about $350. It's incredibly rare, and it is a Japanese-only import title for the Sega Saturn. Pretty much what I'm telling you is if you're going to collect Sega Saturn titles, you need to be ballin' out of control. That being said, this game is awesome. You basically play a ninja, you can shoot lightning out of your hands at wherever your target is facing, and you can move that target freely around the screen to target different enemies in different parts of their body. Some have weak spots and so on and so forth. It's just a lot of fun. It's a really fun Sega Saturn game. You can also power up your lightning attack. I forgot about that. And it just keeps going, and it's a lot of fun. Is it $350 fun? I don't think any game is $350 fun, but it's pretty amazing nonetheless. So if you see this one for some reason out in the wild and it's a decent price, I wouldn't even hesitate to pick it up. Next up is Cotton 2, another Japanese import title for the Sega Saturn. This is a side-scrolling shoot-'em-up, or I guess you would call it cute-'em-up. The developers, because it was a 2D title, were really able to show off the Saturn hardware, so there are a lot of visual effects and just really cool things about the game that you normally wouldn't be able to get out of a game like this on lesser hardware. Cotton 2 Magical Night Dreams was originally developed as an arcade game and a true sequel to the original Cotton Fantastic Night Dreams. This version for the Sega Saturn is a near-perfect arcade port, and it is beautiful and it's a lot of fun. I highly recommend picking it up if you can get a decent price on it. Burning Rangers. So while Yuji Naka was heading up Sonic Team during the Saturn years, instead of working on a traditional Sonic game, he came up with Knights and this little gem here about a group of futuristic firefighters who run around rescuing people. And it's an interesting title, has a lot of cool effects to it, and it's mostly centered around 3D gameplay. Not to mention it has a pretty sweet anime intro. Burning Rangers gameplay is some of the best 3D the Saturn has to offer, and that's no surprise considering Yuji Naka's talent. That being said, there are a lot of things going against this game as well, like polygonal glitches and a very short draw distance, not to mention it's a pretty easy game overall. While Sonic the Hedgehog fans won't find it a worthy substitution, Burning Rangers does offer an interesting and unique experience on the Saturn. You can play as a male or female character, and each level centers around collecting crystals, rescuing civilians, putting out fires, and using your jetpack to cross small gaps. While playing as a futuristic firefighter might not sound like that much fun, this is one of the better games for the Saturn library, and I actually had a blast running around battling blazes. My only real complaint with this game is it's really short, as it's only 4 levels total. So yeah, it's a little on the short side, but it's totally worthy of adding to your collection. Unfortunately, the US version complete is about $150, and while the Japanese import is a lot cheaper, it's basically unplayable unless you know Japanese. Well, that's it for episode 18 of Retro Buyer's Guide. Leave me a comment and let me know what your favorite Sega Saturn game is, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back next week with a new video.